Here we go.
Well, welcome back, everybody. This is Darreck Kirby, back to talk more Mavericks basketball here. I'm joined again by my dude, Innie and Duca. Innie, how are you doing? It has been more than a minute. It's been a fortnight, one might say. Several fortnights, in fact,
I
since we've had
was
you
gonna say
on.
Fortnite is technically 2 weeks, right?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, like two
Yeah,
weeks. Yeah.
yeah. But I've been good. I've been working and stressing out over these Mavs games and stuff like that. So uh, I forgot in the times that the Mavericks were relevant back in the days of the 05s and the 2000s to 2011. You kind of forgot how stressful these playoff times is. So it was kind of like uh, a stress, but a good stress at the same time, if that makes sense. Like
I mean,
I'm like anxious about this game, but at the same time, it's like at least I have a game to watch. You know what I mean?
Sure, but I mean, any of these games is going to be stressful because even in that kind of golden window you were talking about before, this would be the franchise's fourth trip to the Western Conference Finals if they win today.
If they win,
So,
yes.
right, and I'm saying consider how long the history is. It's even when we were in like the golden years of Dirk or whatever in his prime, it was still stressful because we got there three times ever with Dirk, you know? So,
Yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
it's
Yeah.
a rare territory in the last decade for sure. Obviously, not winning a playoff series before this run. We've been
Uh-huh.
working with house money for 2.5 weeks. It feels like.
It feels like
Yeah,
house money, but then people start talking, start running their mouth, and all of a sudden it's like, all right, I want to beat their ass real bad now. It's like I want the dub. There's a specific podcast. I don't know why I guess it came across the algorithms on my YouTube,
hmm
and I clicked on them just to see what they were saying. It's a Phoenix podcast about probably around a little bit smaller than yours, but they have a credentialed dude on their team. But those guys were like, oh, like my god, like douchebags, I guess to put it lightly. They were talking like Mavericks suck. They were saying like Pelicans are better than the Mavericks and stuff like that. I'm like, what in the world? Who are these guys? Like I was low key, like I was cool getting out the first round. I'm like, all right, cool. Like let me just watch games. Let me just enjoy the playoffs.
right.
If we win, awesome, awesome. And then I watched that podcast, and I'm like, we better like effing destroy these cats, bro. And like I watched the I don't watch like the whole podcast, but I'll probably catch like the first 10, 15 minutes of game one and game two.
hmm
Bro, obnoxious.
Yeah.
Obnoxious. And game three and game four, the tunes turn 180 flip. I'm like, you bitches thought it was gonna be sweet over here in Dallas. Heck no,
Right.
son. So I really want this dub tonight, and that's the first thing I'm gonna do. Uh, if we win, is I'm gonna take a look at their podcast, see what they're saying. So
I
because they're
mean,
obnoxious.
yeah, no, I don't doubt that at all. And the weird thing with that as well is like the Suns are a team that they hadn't done anything since Steve Nash's
Yeah, since the
last
seven
full year
seconds,
there.
pretty
Yeah,
much.
I
Yeah.
mean, like 2010, I think the year before the Mavericks won it, 09, 010, or oh
Mm-hmm.
09, 10, they got to the Western Finals, and that run was pretty improbable, but they fell to the Lakers in their run for their repeat they had.
Yeah.
And then that was it for their relevance. And they hadn't made the playoffs until last year at
Yeah.
all. I mean, I was talking with James about this the other day. Like, Devin Booker has a bizarre arrogance to me for a guy who, before Chris Paul got there, lost 81% of his games.
Yeah.
He never carried his team to better than 31 wins by himself.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, people who want to criticize Luca, look, I understand Luca has like a whole attitude and all that that can rub opposing crowds the
Mm-hmm.
wrong way. Totally get
For
that.
sure. For
Absolutely.
sure.
Booker has it too. And in that way, they're kind of similar. But it's like Luca was in the playoffs with a lottery team by year two.
Yeah.
Booker never did better than 31 wins in a season before Chris Paul got there. And everyone who wants to criticize Luca will point to Luca's stats and say like, "Oh, hollow numbers are, garbage time stats," which doesn't even make sense anyway. But they
Yeah.
don't count the fact that Booker's greatest achievement, 70 points, happened in garbage time when they were just
And they lost.
yeah, it was completely artificial too because they were just feeding him endless shots because it didn't matter. They had like
Yeah.
24 wins on the year, and so they just kept giving the ball like, oh, whatever, this game doesn't matter. So yeah, it's weird how that doesn't cut both ways.
And it's funny. I actually remember what social media was like around that game. And Jay Crowder was actually on the Celtics,
Yeah.
which was the team he put up the 71 points. And I remember he specifically quote tweeted the picture that they took, you know, the
Mhm.
Will Chamberlain, whatever, 71 on a paper. Jay Crowder specifically said, "You guys lost the game.
Yeah.
why are you guys getting so hyped? Like, like take the L." But that, I mean, that's what it was like. It's kind of, yeah. So, and it's weird to me. Not only, you know, is Devin Booker, he has this weird arrogance, but the fan base has this weird arrogance too. And it's like the same thing goes. Like, you guys literally haven't seen any bit of success up until last
They
year.
don't have any championships. I mean, we might have
They don't
one,
have-
but
yeah.
we found someone even poorer than we are.
Yeah, exactly.
I
So
mean, they
so
threw a
they
they
have-
threw a parade just for making the finals. I've never seen another team do
they
that.
threw a parade for going 8-0 in the bubble.
They threw a parade for that?
They didn't throw a parade.
Okay,
but
they just did a victory
like,
lap.
you know, yeah, a victory lap
okay.
for going 8-0 in the bubble, not going to the playoffs, even though it was pretty impressive, and they have been impressive ever since.
Sure.
Like, I'm not gonna be dumb enough to, you know, throw shade on them for their successes that
Yeah.
they had these last 2 years.
They've
but-
been phenomenal the last 2 years, no doubt.
yeah, but it's only been 2 years.
Yeah,
Like,
and they
the
have
type of
nothing
stuff
but-
that's coming out their mouth is like,
they think
you
they're a
would think
dynasty.
they're the Celtics. Yeah, you think they have 17 championships on their Raptors. It's like, you guys ain't got one. You guys have one 61
Right.
season in the last 2-3 decades.
Yeah,
Like-
no, 100%. And they'll point to like they kind of channel the Warriors in that respect. And like I get irritated by the Warriors too, but like at least I can't deny what the Warriors
They have-
are.
they
Phoenix
have
already
skins- they
acts
have
like they
skins on
are
the wall.
that.
Yeah,
Like-
yeah,
Like Curry
Yeah.
mouths off before the game 6 or whatever against Memphis and they get just shellacked. And it's like,
yeah.
well, that looks dumb, but at least he's got 4 titles or whatever to fall back on. Phoenix is like, they're still like, oh,
Like,
one
they're-
time we had a 2-0 lead in the finals.
Yeah, Warriors were literally in. Yeah. Warriors were literally like in the finals almost every year for half a decade. So they can talk. And as much as some of their new fans are, I respect the We Believe fans because they were ride or die.
We
but
don't talk
in this
about that
new-
year.
I know. But you know, they're the 8th seed. They had, you know, the lovable team. They're the lovable losers before then. And there's something to cheer for.
Yeah.
But as your team becomes to get more, I guess, good, more popular or whatever, you do tend to track the annoying fair
Bandwagon.
weather
Just-
fan,
fair weather,
bandwagon that
bandwagon.
talk the most irresponsible bullcrap. And it's just like, yo, like, first of all, you don't even know what this team was
Yeah.
before Steph Curry. So shut up. Like, I'm only going to talk to those fans.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I know.
On the Booker, though, and the funny thing, did Booker even start in college, by the way,
At Kentucky?
at Kentucky? I don't think he started. I could be wrong.
I
We have to go
honestly,
back.
dude, I don't watch college basketball really.
I know.
So
but
I can't really say.
there was-
I would assume he had to have, considering
I
where he
think-
was taken.
Yeah, but I think there was I remember hearing something about him not even starting in college and then being where he's at now is pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm just kind of comparing I guess successes even pre-NBA. Why
Sure.
Luka's the way he is, because Luka has been experiencing success
Championships, MVPs
pretty
in
much.
Europe.
Yeah. Before he even stepped foot in the NBA. And now he was doing remarkable things even as a rookie.
Mhm.
Talk like crazy things. And then year 2 going up against probably the best wing defensive duo since Michael and Pippen, since Jordan and Pippen.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think back, but Paul George and Kawhi Leonard probably.
Yeah.
are.
And Luka did it back-to-back
And Luke-
years against them.
Yeah,
tore 'em up,
Luka was
yeah.
dropping numbers, straight historic numbers on these guys, right? And
Eric
for the
Ham
fact
says that Booker was the 6th man on that Kentucky team.
okay, so
So there you go.
I knew,
That would suggest you're right. Yeah.
so for the fact that you have these,
Thanks, Sir Cam.
I appreciate it. Yeah, for the fact that you have these Phoenix guys that were saying such nonsense like, "Oh, Luka was putting empty stats." I'm literally going to put, if we win tonight, I'm going to save it for when we win. If we win, I'm going to post a video of the nonsense these guys were talking.
Sure.
Because they were saying stuff like Luka was putting empty stats.
Right.
And I'm like, dude, like he literally second year in the league, dude, brought a team that was
they were a 23-win team the year before he got there.
Yeah.
And by his second year, they were in the playoffs as a 7 seed.
We didn't move up in the lottery those 2 years.
Right.
We had Dennis Smith and Luka, right?
Yeah, no, we didn't move up.
We didn't move up. So we were legitimately like the 9th best team in the league, or 9th worst team in the league, and the 5th worst.
5th worst, yeah. You had the 3rd worst record or something the year that you got Luka because you had to trade up to get him. You had the 3rd best odds at the number 1 pick.
Yeah. So Luka took a team essentially the year before, even though it was half the year because we traded essentially everyone by that trade deadline. And Luka took that team from 5th worst in the league to 7th in the 7th seed, going up against probably one of the best well-constructed teams in the Clippers that year. If they weren't such fool themselves, they probably would have been in the conference finals and could have contended with the Lakers if they would have took their opponents seriously, if they took Denver seriously. But the fact that Luka did that against them and still these cats are not respecting him shows you that I don't know who we're dealing with over there. Who, if they have, like, there needs to be, it can't be everybody that has a podcast.
Sure.
Right? I like the type of stuff they were saying was the type of stuff I will see anonymous Twitter users say. Like the ones that don't even put their pictures on their Abby. They're just like some, anime character or whatever. I don't know. And they're just saying nonsense like Luka's a stat chaser or whatever. I'm like, you guys you're speaking nonsense. So I really want these guys to win.
Well, I mean, part of that too is like what frustrates me in that debate is they'll look at like Luka versus Booker, and you'll have the Phoenix contingent saying like, "Oh, let's talk playoff wins and finals appearances." Like, well, let's talk just success in general, whether you want to talk individual or team. Like, how about you? Like, if you're talking Chris Paul versus Luka in that, then sure. But Chris Paul is also 37 years old. He's had a few more goes at it, and it's amazing how we're like such prisoners to the moment that we have to act like Booker has always been this, that the Suns have always been this. They were, as Big Fat Winner says in the chat, the Suns were as inept in terms of like a front office and how they constructed their roster as anyone. I don't know if you can find a much worse front office than that. I mean, you should have had Luka. They should have had Luka. They should have had Luka.
Yeah, they should have.
Booker.
They had a chance.
Now, to be fair, Ayton is still a very nice player, and if for some reason they choose not to pay him a max and he comes available, hell yes, we'll talk. But at the same time, it's like they should have had Luka and that. So you can talk about how Chris Paul is what unlocked the whole thing, but you don't think if Luka had a player like Devin Booker on his team that Luka wouldn't be like, yeah, no, I still have to get 50% usage rate or whatever. No, man, they'd be way more balanced. Luka does what he does on this team because he's largely had to until this point. Now that you've had Brunson emerge, now that you've had the Dinwiddie thing happen, although he's really regressed for the most part in this postseason. He
had a good game last game. Hopefully, it can
game
that
6s.
Over,
he's good.
Unlucky. Yeah,
you take his 2 game 6s. He's been very good. You take anything else, and he's been hot garbage like he was in Washington. But the emergence of those two has allowed Luka to kind of scale back a little bit. And it's like, yeah, his usage rate is still high, so he's going to get his stats. But it's really just about Luka controlling the flow of the game here. In Game 5, Luka, he had a good stat line, but you could tell just by the flow of the game and how he managed it, it was not good. It was a lot of ISO, a lot of dribbling the air out of the ball, back and trying to back guys down from like the 3-point line, working in. That's not a good flow for the Maverick offense.
And the thing, and the tossing the hand grenades at like, hey, there's 1 second left to go in the shot clock. Here you go.
Yeah.
In skyscraper. So it was a lot of that.
But he was so much better in Game 6.
Can you tell, because we're live, right?
Yeah, we're live.
Can you tell your chat if you see me looking to, I don't know what direction I'll be looking at them.
Why are you asking me to tell them? You're literally telling them yourself.
Okay, sorry, my bad. Because I can't see the chat. You can see it. So in my eyes, the chat, you can, whatever. Anyway, so if you see me looking in this direction, that's because I literally have the Milwaukee Celtics game going on right now, and I'm just trying to keep. So I'm not crazy. I'm just, I like basketball. I love basketball. Love the NBA. But anyway, so moving on. So yeah, game 5. You guys talked about it, you and James.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about it. We didn't do like a post game show. Like the thing James and I do isn't like post game show heavy. We'll talk about like some of the trends or storylines, but we don't go into like then in the fourth quarter there was this run and blah blah blah, and we don't do that.
Understandably so. All right. Anyway, so the difference between, I don't really want to go in ham on game 5 because it's game 7. There's literally a game in between. But the difference on how Luka played from game 5 to game 6. I tweeted, if anyone follows me on Twitter, congrats. I'm not the best follow too. I'm being completely transparent. But one of the things I said was, this is the Luka Doncic I want to see. And what he was doing is he's going to be a generational type player. He's already putting up numbers rivaling Michael Jordan, wherever in terms of postseason scoring, whatever. His decision making, especially in the games that we've lost, have been piss poor.
Yeah.
And his game managing have been piss poor. And I saw a difference in game 6 that if he played like that, the series will be completely different and more aggressive, actually going up for layups. He will do this one thing that's weird where he will go all the way up to essentially the restricted, and it will be like him versus one other defender, even if it was DeAndre Ayton, and just completely throw it out to a guy shooting a 3. Where I get the analytics of 3s versus 2s,
right?
But in postseason basketball, it's about buckets. I don't want to go 3 minutes without our score going up, right? Because that's not good for our I guess our psyche or whatever. Even if it's 2, even if it's going to the line, which all that unlocks if we're being aggressive. Luka, which what he did in game 6 was he toned down on the step backs. He turned up I'm gonna go to the basket and I'm not gonna kick it out for a 3. I'm gonna attack. It's straight attack mode, which is what he needs to do because Luka's he's a beast. He's a dog. Like 6'7", 6'8", 230, 40, whatever he weighs, and no one rivals him on the other team.
Right.
I even heard another podcast saying that if there were the Golden State Warriors, they would rather face the Suns because all Golden State has is small ball. And yeah, we have small ball too, but it's like a big small ball. Like our point guard is 6'7", 6'8".
Right.
They don't have, and they just lost Gary.
And he
Payton.
can back you in and post you up.
Exactly.
Jalen's even got a post up game, even though he's undersized a little bit.
Exactly. Jalen is not a small dude. Like height wise, he's small, but he's a pretty stout dude himself.
He's stout for sure.
Right? Yeah. So we have all that, and it completely unlocks our offense.
Yeah.
Whereas like we can take advantage of smaller guys. And I'm not trying to,
There's also just the Chris Paul factor for why the Warriors would rather face them is because he's already been stretched to 6 and 7 games, and you already see the last 4 games he's been terrible by his standards. Yeah. He looks like he might be already on fumes. That's what happened last year in their run is they ran out of gas after going up 2-0, and he was never the same the rest of the way.
Yeah. So
which goes back to our previous point about why Booker can't carry the team by himself.
Yeah.
Yet Luka is expected to. If Luka can go for 46, 11, and 14 or whatever he did in Game 7 last year, and people still will put that on him, including his own GM at the time.
Yeah, for sure. So what was your favorite adjustment from Game 5 to Game 6? What was one of the biggest things you saw?
I liked the way that they were moving the ball better. They seemed to make good adjustments in terms of when they were throwing the double teams at Phoenix, kind of changing up how they were matching up defensively, throwing Dorian a little more at Chris Paul and putting Reggie on Booker seemed to kind of disrupt that a little bit just because it was a curveball that you hadn't really seen up until that point. But a lot of that, man, like weirdly, I just didn't think Phoenix came out with any urgency. Like they did the whole like, oh, wear black to the AAC, like as if you're going to their funeral. And Now, first of all, they did wear all black, but like they didn't wear all black. Like you do that bit and you wear like a suit, right?
Yeah,
They showed up
like,
in just like t-shirts and jeans, and it's like you're
yeah,
wearing
you're
black,
dressing up like you're going to a funeral, yeah.
Right, because now
like
if
you're
they
going to
lose,
all
they
black
could be
club or
like, oh,
something.
no, man, we were just, what are you talking about? Like we were just dressed, we were just coming to the game. We're not wearing a black. Like you're the one trying to write that narrative or something. You know, like they'd spin it like that.
Bro, come on, bro. We've seen that whole.
Yeah,
we've seen that before. But
right,
yeah,
but
for them to wear all black and then
but
proceed to get destroyed is quite hilarious.
They had no urgency. Like they had to know Dallas was going to throw everything at them. And they just didn't seem like, at the end of the first quarter, they just didn't seem like they were like, all right, whatever, we got game 7 back in Phoenix. And that's more than anything why I'm really hoping Dallas can just knock their ass out in this game, is because Phoenix has underestimated and toyed with Dallas this whole time. They never dreamed Dallas could push them to 7, let alone threaten to completely take them out in the second round. Because, like we said, they think they're a dynasty. They think they're already, like, defending champions or whatever, and everyone expects them to go win it. They've been great all year, but they're not even the betting favorite anymore. No, they're so arrogant. And again, I get it. Confidence is a thing, but it's a team that still has never gotten to the mountaintop. That's flexing. The only thing weirder than that was like the Timberwolves when they were like doing like after they got eliminated, you got Pat Bev like tossing his jersey to the crowd and just like, you just got run in the last game of your season. What are you talking about?
Yeah, so I understand the Timberwolves thing, the over exuberance of just celebration, because they haven't been even in the playoffs other than that one year they had Jimmy Butler.
I was gonna say they went with Butler.
Yeah, so other than that one year, they haven't seen the playoffs since.
Phoenix had 1 year, and they were trying to they threw a parade just for going to the finals. But at least they did something with it.
But yeah, it's like I could understand, especially I think they won at home, right? It was the play-in game that it was at their place, right? Yeah, so you celebrating.
I give them nothing.
You got Patrick Bev.
I give them nothing. That's soft.
I'll give the Timberwolves because they're like lovable losers, you know.
That's Charmin soft. I don't give them anything. It's not earned.
No.
And Karl Anthony Towns, my God, I cannot stand him. Still claiming he's the
I used
greatest
to like
shooting
him, but
big man of all time, and it's like you shrink in the biggest moments. It's like a playoff game, and you're going for like 15 points, maybe.
I was talking all the shit. I'm like, bro, don't you ever ever say the words greatest shooting big man attached to your name.
Right.
The only time I want you to say that is if it is Dirk Nowitzki is attached to that statement you're making.
Yeah.
Because you are wrong.
Yeah. But
because you can't say you're the greatest shooting big man of all time. You were even in the postseason 2 years in a row. Like, I mean, 2 years, not in a row.
Right.
2 years. So
it's more of that same thing. It's there's a very weird performative nature now with the league. It feels like where like it's the projecting of like it's almost like guys just got tired of like, well, this is dumb. Only like the guys that win a championship get to flex and celebrate and look cool. Oh man, we're just gonna start doing it for anything. Like they win a playoff game and you got like Grizzlies like dancing on a logo and stuff, and it's like you were favored and you went to what 7 or whatever.
They went to 7. They went to 6.
Okay, against the T-Wolves, they went to 6, but you were heavily favored in the series. You had to go back against the wall against a team that had to deal with the play-in anyway. And like you're dancing on the logo, you're doing whatever. It's just there's this weird performative nature where I always remember when the Mavericks won the Western Finals over OKC. Dirk
for the second time.
Yeah, Dirk like he held the trophy just for the thing because they're like, hey, you got to take
for the photo op and then pass
he's like, all right, here it is, here. And the whole team just walks off the podium and they're like, this isn't what we want. Jason Terry literally said afterwards he dropped the Western Conference trophy in the laundry hamper on the way to the locker room. He's like, we're not here for this. We know the job's not done. I think, too, Kobe, when they faced the Magic in the finals, they go up 2 games to none, and post-game, a reporter asks him, Kobe, why don't you, you look kind of upset right now, or you look you're not happy. You should be smiling. He's like, why would I be smiling? The job's not done. He's like, well, you have a 2-0 lead. Job's not done. We were supposed to hold home court. We did. Now we got to go win there. And it's just like, it's that mentality. Like that is what you love to see. All this new performative stuff, I don't get it. I really don't get it. It feels like it's more just.
They will call you, Derek, an old head.
Old head, yeah. Get off my lawn, yeah. It just feels performative. That's all it is. It feels like everyone's trying to be like WWE or something, like cutting a promo or something. Everyone wants to be Ric Flair out there talking about old head, strutting around and all that and wooing to the crowd. But I don't know.
At certain stages of a team, I can allow it to happen. Just like I said with the Timberwolves celebrating, because I can remember the Mavs, going wire to wire Game 5 win against the Utah Jazz in 2001, and they were celebrating when they won that series, right?
Sure. They also came back from down 2-0 and basically had 3 straight games with their season on the line.
Exactly. So they celebrated. They're not. I wouldn't expect them to be like, "Job's not done." Like,
it's the first round too.
That's what I'm gonna say. Yeah. But still, though, it don't matter. Like, I can allow a little bit of celebration, even if it's not the championship, right? If it's a young team, Now, if it's the Suns being led by
37-year-old Chris Paul,
and Devin Booker's been in the league for
7 years, but he's still only 25.
Yeah, but he's only been to the postseason 2 years.
Yeah,
but he had one good run. I mean, that's almost like the Atlanta Hawks, like, coming in and like, all right, better than anybody. Like when Trae Young was talking about, regular season was boring, and you're like, shut up, dude. You only been to the postseason one time, and you had one good run.
Yeah,
like,
they imploded.
You better put some respect. Yeah, you better put some respect on the league.
Yeah.
So if they're like that, if they're coming out like that, then I'll be like, all right, bro, hold your horses. But if they're like, man, like, we're excited because we're doing so well, we've gotten further than we've ever had. We're a young team. Sure. Like, enjoy it. Honestly, if you really think about it, that's probably the funnest time in the fan base, right? If you have the expectations to win every year, if you don't win, it's a failure. So you're not necessarily having that much fun. But when you're like, oh, we're a young team and we're making a run, it's like, man, like the fan base, this is fun.
Yeah.
Like when the Mavericks are going 50 wins, how many years in a row?
11.
And like the 8th year they did it, we were just like, our expectations, 50 wins is nothing. We're called one and done boys, like whatever. But when they win 50 wins this year, we're like, oh, it's something to be, happy about.
Sure. But I don't know. I still feel like there's more theatrics to it now for anything that gets overhyped, and I just feel like that's like and more of an attention thing where like stuff is upheld to a higher standard, or not to a higher standard. That would imply it's harder to reach. I feel like the ceiling has shifted on what things are to be like celebrated and touted, to where it's watered down now. Stuff doesn't feel necessarily as special, but that's a whole different point. For another thing that I didn't mention earlier, an adjustment that really kind of helped turn this series that we talked about when we were texting in the days prior to this. One of the biggest changes the Mavericks made that I think really turned this series around was this switch, putting in Ntilikina over Green. Like Green, man, you needed him to eat up some minutes early in this series, but he just does not look like he's ready for any kind of playoff basketball. No, I know he had like one big game against the Jazz. I think he had like 14 points or something like that. But the guy, like the kid, just isn't ready for that. So getting Ntilikina back and having him be such a difference maker so far has been really promising. I
think Ntilikina, he was available to play, I think, around game 5 against the Jazz.
He had 4 steals in 21 minutes last game.
No, yeah, but he was available. Like, he was officially back in on the team, like available to play game 5 against the Jazz. And I remember saying, I think I would rather have Frank in instead of Josh Green, because Frank is more useful. His skill set is more useful for what the Mavs are trying to do.
Yeah,
for someone who can play defense.
He was,
and then also if he's open, he can hit the open 3-pointer.
Yeah, so he was a +9 despite scoreless from the field, 0 of 1.
Yeah,
took 1 3. So I know he hit a big 3 at the end of the third quarter. I think it was in game 4. So
yeah.
I mean, the thing with him is I don't know that you're going to get a lot of points out of him, obviously, But whatever you get,
that's not what he's in for.
Sure, but I trust him to get points, be able to get points more than Green, and I damn sure trust him more defensively because whenever he has had to guard Paul or Booker, he's been effective in this series. Like he's been really effective. If anything, I'm wondering why he didn't get more attention or more of a look in Game 5. Like what was his minutes in Game 5? I feel like it wasn't as much as it should have been. Of course, that game got away from Dallas in the third quarter. He played 13 minutes, 3 points in that game. He was a minus 11 in that game, so not as great of an outing for him. But
have you given yourself flowers, by the way, for the Frank Ntilikina? You called him if I remember correctly, you dubbed him the X Factor at the beginning of the season.
I said, you
have to look back to the archives.
Yeah, I do remember saying something about that, but to be fair, I've had so many other predictions that went horribly awry that I hesitate to give myself flowers for anything.
But this one is important because it's pretty much saved the season.
In this series, the reason that Dallas, I think, was able to kind of turn things around, other than just settling down and playing better at home. Like this series has been like an average of like 13 or 17 points per game difference between home and away. But it really has been, I think, the adjustment of playing him more, switching him out, and what you're able to do defensively, because I did not think Dallas was going to be this good defensively this year. And so the adjustments they've made and the fact that they can throw the fact that you can even get Luka, who's a capable defender, but because his usage rate is so high, you see a lot of times where like he doesn't phone it in on defense, but he certainly isn't giving his all because he understands he has to carry so much of a load on the other side. And when you get him locked in as well, and you have Bullock out there, Ntilikina, you have Dorian Finney-Smith, who's been playing. He's had some really, really great moments. His last 2 games have been kind of quiet. I think 8 and like 4 points. You just have so much you can throw at Phoenix defensively, and it's completely got them out of sorts. The only time Phoenix, I thought, started to find something was in Game 5. Ayton looked like he finally woke up and started just feasting on the front court, which was something that we thought was going to be a problem the whole series. But then Game 6, it went right back to not being a big deal. So I don't know what the deal with that is. Yeah, Ayton had 20 and 9 in 22 minutes in Game 5. And then this last game, what did he end up with?
I think he actually had a good game. Game 6. It was just quiet.
Game 6, 21 and 11. Yeah. So he feasted again. But so that, I mean, I don't know. It's one of those things where Dallas has done largely a really good job making adjustments. Not perfect. They certainly in the first couple games, Kidd looked like he was being outcoached pretty badly, which I can forgive just because we're playing with house money anyway. But then they made great adjustments. But then when they went back to Game 5, it seemed like they never adapted to what Phoenix was doing defensively. And that was frustrating. But now we just have to see if they can actually cobble something together here. I think the penetration is good. They need to not focus so much on ISO ball. And if they can get those corner threes, and if they can get like Dorian going, for instance, they'll be in really good shape. But it's really going to hinge on what they're able to get out of the ball movement, because their their percentage of quality shots far and away leads the NBA as far as the teams remaining in the playoffs.
Talking about the Suns, right?
No, the Mavericks.
Or the Mavs. Oh, wow.
Yeah. Shot quality. Okay. Where? Damn it, I had a screenshot.
You're the stats guy. I'm just kind of a eyeball. Say it like I see it type
shot
guy.
Quality offensive rating for the teams remaining in the playoffs here. The Mavericks shot quality rating looks like about 117.5. The Suns, and this was as of May 14th, the Suns were just a hair over 115. Then after that, you have Miami at 113.5, Milwaukee at 113, Golden State at 113, and Boston at 112.5. So Dallas creating the highest percentage of quality shots. And the only game that kind of felt like an aberration there was Game 5, where they were just dribbling the air out of the ball, going way too much ISO, and then like 5 seconds on the shot clock. grenade, throw it into someone and try to make something happen. So you do look at it and you say, like, and I'll let you pick up the ball and run with this because I've been talking for a minute. But I'm going to gently set the groundwork for you to pick right up where I left off. The difference in this year and last year, Game 7, it's almost a complete reversal of fortune. Like, the Mavericks now aren't the team that's dropped 3 of 4 going into Game 7. It's the opposite. Mm-hmm. And now I'm letting you go into that whole thing.
Also, too, last year, it was all the away teams were winning the games up until Game 7. So this is what I'm, I guess, looking forward to see with Game 7. If the Mavs can, because I know like I said before, we love the 3-pointers, but if let's say 50% of our threes that we take is, I will say, dare I say, ill-advised, or I guess hunted for instead of getting in the flow of the offense. If we can cut that down, beneficial. If we can have more penetration, if we can utilize, if Brunson, because he's being utilized, if he can start the game well, without ado is we can not have Luka, have to carry the team from start to finish. We can have a little bit more Luka energy left at the end of the game. That's going to be big. Of course, our warriors on our team, Dorian Finney-Smith, Reggie Bullock, Frank Ntilikina, Maxi Kleber, if they can continue what they're doing in the home games, the kind of defense that they're playing, fantastic. But also we need them to hit their shots when a good shot is presented, right?
Yeah.
It's at this time where you kind of need to lock in, because your role players tend to not be as good on our away games.
Right.
But if, I don't know, there's almost like an element of like, I just need you guys to be a little bit more sharp. We can take a little bit of the missed shots or whatever. Teams are going to have runs. If we can withstand their runs, that's good. If we can keep it close at the end of the game, that's where we want to be. This is going to be a tough game. Yeah. By no means do I believe, it kind of sounded like that in the beginning. Do I believe that this is like, a game for the Mavs to win? They're going to have to pull out, essentially, I don't want to say a miracle, but the odds are against them.
True, but they've won 3 out of 4.
They've won 3 out of 4, yes.
And expanding on that, this is from Mavs Film Room on Twitter. They've won or tied 10 of the last 16 quarters played in the series, and they've led after the first quarter in each of the last 4. So they're getting going early. You take out Game 5's disastrous third quarter, and the series might have already been over.
Yeah. So once again, you're the stat guy. You're the stat guy. It's not looking good for the Milwaukee, by the way.
Yeah. They got their title. It's fine.
It's fine. Yeah. Milwaukee's they're going to be set for 3-4 years. Yeah, you're the stat guy. I'm the call like I see guy.
So in that third quarter of Game 5, they had 12 turnovers in that quarter alone. And throughout this series, not just the games they've won, but throughout the series in general, aside from Game 5, they've been really good at protecting the ball. Like single-digit turnovers. They had one game where they had like 3 or 4 turnovers total, and they were literally like, that was the Utah series, I think, and it was like all Dinwiddie in like the opening like few minutes or something. But they've been really good.
There was that game where Brunson put up like 40 points with no turnovers.
Yeah.
One of the most impressive things I've seen as a Mavs.
That's right. Game 2, I guess it would have been then. But really, really a big key for Dallas is limiting turnovers. Obviously, you got to make your shots like you were talking about. They've had 3 role players shooting out of their mind in terms of percentage this year in the postseason. Bullock. And the thing with Bullock is he's been really good. He's playing like 40 minutes a game. Like, you're heavily dependent on him. And so one of the concerns I had was that, kind of like we saw with Dorian Finney-Smith last year, when Dallas raced out to that big lead on the Clippers, almost took a 3-0 lead, a lot of it was their role players, specifically Dorian Finney-Smith, were shooting great. But then as the series wore on, they tanked because they were playing 40-plus minutes a game, chasing guys around, having incredibly difficult defensive matchups, and your legs just go after a while. But that's one good thing about the added rest you get here. And as Istok Franco points out, when you give Bullock some additional time, he shoots with 2 days rest, which he's had here. He shoots 40%. With 1 day rest, he shoots 33%. So that's a pretty significant change there. Just getting that extra day of rest could mean a lot for him. And we were talking earlier.
I'll have to say, guarding Kawhi Leonard, being the only person capable of essentially guarding Kawhi Leonard and Paul George.
Kawhi for a lot of last year too.
Yeah.
So had
it was like them or nothing, them two or nothing. But now we actually have some reinforcements.
Right. And Istok here also talking about he says, like, if Bullock can keep up with Booker on ISOs and drives, it unlocks a lot for Dallas defensively. Dorian on Chris Paul was a great adjustment since he can switch the Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton pick and roll with Maxey. Just a huge help as far as the help defender dealing with Chris Paul and bothering him with the length. So that's great stuff from his talk as always. Dallas has to hope that, I think a big thing for them is going to be what they can get out of Dinwiddie, because he's going to hunt. He's going to look for his stuff. And the guy, he presses is the gentle way of putting it. He really presses for his offense. And in those game sixes, he was great. The problem is we've only had 2 game sixes out of like 14 games or whatever now, or I guess this is game 13.
They're in game 13.
Dinwiddie shooting 3 in the playoffs this year in any game, not game 6. 12 for 44.
Yeah.
Dinwiddie shooting in the 2 game sixes combined, 8 for 13. That's from 3 on those. So Dinwiddie, great shooting from 3 in those games. You just got to tell him it's game 6.
Him that this is exactly. We can convince him that we need to do the Mike Tyson route, because Mike Tyson used to get what's that thing that people do? Hypnotized before his matches. Yeah. So if we can hypnotize Dinwiddie and tell him it's a game 6.
Yeah.
Let it rip, my guy.
Yeah. You gotta do something there, because they definitely need, because when it's, we saw in game 5, like we talked about, there was a lot of ISO with Luka and Jalen, and they were the only guys that got anything. Like Dorian got, I think, like 8 points, and then you didn't have either of the other starters. Granted, Dwight Powell played like 8 minutes that game. You didn't have any of the other starters score. Bullock went 0 for 5, and Powell, obviously, in his 8 minutes, didn't get anything either, other than abused by Ayton. So you got to find something more there. If Phoenix is basically going to say, hey, look, we understand Luka's going to get his, and we even understand Jalen might get his, but we still like our chances at home with our firepower, as long as we don't let someone else go. If Dorian Finney-Smith doesn't go off, if Dinwiddie doesn't go off, if Bullock doesn't go off, and hell, Bertans went off in that game. He had like 14 points they wasted. But if they don't have that other guy step up, then it changes the equation a bit. So Phoenix, they are the deeper, more talented team. They just are. Like, I don't like acknowledging that, but they are. They are a very well put together team. And I think
even though the Mavericks have essentially like 2 of their main rotational players, the Mavericks in their play has essentially rendered them useless.
Yes.
And that being Campaign and the 2 Cams, essentially Campaign and Cam
Johnson.
Forgot the other. Cam Johnson.
Yeah. JaVale McGee's also been played off the floor.
Yeah, playoff, which is like, add that to the list of players that the Mavericks have completely destroyed. What's his name knows a little thing or two about that. Pat Bev.
Yeah.
He gave us some flowers, by the way. He chose the Mavericks for game 7. Yeah.
That was one of those, the worst person you knows just made a great point moments.
I like Pat. Honestly, I like Pat Bev. I understand that he's whatever team he's on, he's ride or die for that team.
Agitator, troll, all that.
Yeah. He plays his role, I don't want to say to perfection, but sometimes he goes a little overboard.
Yeah.
But that's his role, agitator.
So we've been talking about Chris Paul's struggles. Obviously, you had game 4 in Dallas where he fouls out in like 13 minutes or something obscene. Couple ticky-tack ones in there, but also the rest of them were legit. Like, you might say, like, oh, I'm surprised they got called.
The majority of them are legit.
Yeah, like, you might say, like, oh, I'm surprised they called that, but you don't say, that's not a foul. Like, he was committing fouls. He was just like, I'm supposed to get away with that. Like, I'm a star. It's the playoffs.
His 6-1 was definitely a one that I wouldn't expect the ref to call.
Hell, the one before half where, now granted, that was a point of emphasis in the offseason going into it where he gets the ball and kind of veers in front of Jalen in traffic and then stops.
I am happy that got called an offensive foul.
I agree.
And it's to a point as even if Luka tried that, even though he won't do that because he's too big. But if Luka tried that, I would hate to see.
Well, Luka's done it before. Trae Young does it a lot. Chris Paul does it a lot.
I hate that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I do too.
One thing I also hate is the little swing through or whatever.
Yeah, the rip through move.
Yeah, and it's like they're not even trying to
Kevin Durant.
draw. It's Kevin Durant started, but he used to shoot with it. Gave him the 2-shot foul, but then they ruled against it to where they'll just call that a foul on the ground.
Yeah.
But I hate that, and I wish like next year the competition committee. I wish, hey, don't even call that a foul. Like,
just let him fall to the ground. Yeah.
Yeah, just let him fall to the ground and.
Yeah, I like it though because you're disincentivizing it in the harshest way possible by taking the ball away. It's a foul on you and you lose possession. You can't make it any harsher than that for changing that trend. Yeah, because Trae Young was abusing the hell out of that. But back to the Chris Paul thing.
It's not basketball. Yeah, anyway.
So the last 4 games for Chris Paul, he's averaged 9.3 points, 6.3 assists, and 4.5 turnovers. The Mavericks have made they've made his life hell, essentially. Like, he had that moment, fourth quarter game 2, where he was just unconscious, just everything was going in. But since that time, he really has dropped off in like a big way. And you have to give a lot of credit to Dallas. I think that's how Dallas really was able to climb back into the series. Like, bothering him, making life difficult because, again, Devin Booker can't carry it on his own.
Yeah.
After he trash talks about the Luka special, you go into game 6, he had 15 points.
Yeah.
Luka would be shredded for this. Luka gets shredded if he doesn't have a 40-piece triple-double and a win. Like, it drives me crazy, like how Luka in this case. Now, I get it. Luka got so much attention coming into the league, and people didn't want to hear that you got the next great one.
Yeah.
The fact that he's 23 years old and in his 3rd playoffs, and they're like, oh, whatever, what's he done in the playoffs? Yeah. He's won a series now.
He's been that used to be the thing against him. He's like, oh, Luka he can't even get past the first series. He's like, my guy, he's played the Clippers 2 years in a row, man.
And he took him to 6 and to 7 with little help. Yeah.
Exactly.
If KP was supposed to be his help, KP had like one good game in 2 years against the Clippers in the postseason. And he blew out his knee in the game. Just utter chaos.
Yeah, dude. That's hilarious. I'm gonna turn off this. I
saw this on Reddit. It blew my mind here. It's a few days old now at this point. 2 days old at this point. Says upon turning 37, Chris Paul played 37 minutes. He has since scored a total of 37 points. His last 2 losses have been by a combined 37 points. For the series, he is averaging 3.7 fouls and 3.7 turnovers a game. This postseason, he has a total of 37 fouls.
There's no way.
You want to get into weird numerology, man.
That can't be true.
I don't know. Like, the guy lays out his math, and I'm just like, I could probably check all this, but I almost just want it to be true. That's why I made a note of it, and I was just like, I'll mention that, but I'm not gonna make it like a key point.
I don't want to laugh at Chris Paul because I respect the guy. He's one of the best point guards to ever play the game. However, because he's being backed up by the fan base that is the Phoenix Suns fan base, and how utter disrespectful they have been towards our guys. I just have to say, and Chris Paul has actually a long history of giving up 2-0 leads. I think he's done that 4 times before. So he does have a little pedigree. 4 times. So he does have a little pedigree of giving up series.
Yep.
But I'm still not gonna trash the Bulls.
No, he's a great player, but that is a weird.
That is a weird trend. He has been since his birthday. He has been playing like doo-doo.
Yeah.
And some of it's probably him, some of it's being tired since this postseason. You know, dealing with Jose Alvarado and him pestering himself round one, and then dealing with, you know, straight up length and all that round two. It's getting to him. Luckily for him, he has a couple of days rest, so who knows what that will do for him. He's playing at home.
Yeah, the rest will help him a lot, I think, and playing at home.
Yeah, so
I expect this to be a dogfight. Make no mistake about it. I expect this to be. I don't know what the outcome is going to be, but I expect this to be absolute war. And usually in these circumstances, you've got maybe the kitchen sink. That's another difference from last year. You know, last year the Mavericks were the one with a 2-0 lead and then dropped 3-4 to be in this situation. But you felt like at that point they had already thrown out everything, every adjustment they could feasibly make, and it basically boiled down to like
Boban.
Yeah, God, I raged when I jumped on for like a live stream post game after that. I was like, because I was saying in the days leading up to it, I was like, I don't know how you came out with Boban as your starter again in Game 6 and continue to play heavy minutes. You got away with it in Game 5 because all the metrics showed you it worked in spite of itself. It was just LA missing shots. And then Game 6 happened and you got beat, and it was like, yeah, and you kept playing Boban heavy minutes. Yeah, I was like, the one thing you cannot do is do it Game 7. You shouldn't have done it Game 6, but you surely have learned your lesson. And then he started again, and it was the same thing. Like, keep in mind, like last year in the playoffs, like, yeah, Boban was starting Game 7. Brunson played like 8 minutes for 2 points in the game in Game 7. KP and Hardaway were a combined 1 of 14 from 3. It was a completely different Mavericks team from this year. Now, to be fair, we said something similar the year before, and the difference of the Game 6 against the Clippers then compared to Game 7 last year. But still, the point is, like, as much as we say like the Mavericks haven't made a lot of adjustments, the team does look strikingly different, if for no other reason than performance and what the body of work in the past. Yeah, really, especially you want to talk about since late December, the last 5 months, what this team looks like for what it was. There's a reason these were the teams with the 2 best records in 2022. As soon as we rolled over the new year, these were the 2 best records in the NBA. So it's going to be a dogfight. If the Mavericks have any more haymakers to throw, any more savvy adjustments that can throw Phoenix out of their game, then maybe we're in good position. Otherwise, it's just going to be what's your will, what's your, like, how zeroed in are you? If we get a Game 7 from Luka like last year, then you know we have serious opportunity, because he might have had 14 assists in that game, but the Mavericks were all the Mavericks not named Luka Doncic in that Game 7 were 5 for 25 from 3. Yeah. So if you get anything out of this team, his role players, then it's completely different. And that's why, again, having someone like Bullock now, when you didn't have him last year, it was Dorian, Finney-Smith, and Maxey alone.
And that was it, yeah.
And now you've got just a little bit more to weather the storm.
We didn't even have anyone who could come off the bench. Like, who was coming off the bench that could even spell Dorian or Maxey?
Well, we played Trey Burke in that game.
Oh, geez, yeah, that's true.
We were having to lean on Trey Burke to find something.
And then Josh Richardson played like, I don't know, probably 3-4 minutes.
Richardson in the playoffs last year was only good for making clutch free throws and closing seconds. That was it. That was his party trick, because he was horrible, turnovers, and couldn't shoot the ball for anything.
I don't know what happened. He played well this year.
Richardson, he did better.
Celtics and the Spurs, but yeah, man. So I take you're feeling, I guess, I don't know. I'm fluctuating. Like, my confidence fluctuates.
Yeah.
As the day goes on, like, I'll hear something, I'm like this Tony Brothers news that you just gave me is like, ugh.
Yeah, so really? Scott Foster is not officiating this game. Foster is Chris Paul's kryptonite if you look throughout his entire career. He's either winless or like 1 in like 27 or something.
I think he's winless. I think he's like 1. I think it was like 0-16 or something like that.
Okay, something obscene. If Scott Foster officiates a playoff game for Chris Paul, it's always a loss. So when he got a scratched from the other game yesterday and was like a non-COVID illness scratch, everyone was like, oh my God, they're sending him to Phoenix. Not only is he not officiating this game, but it's Tony Brothers, who is kind of the Mavericks person. But I forget who it was. Someone on Twitter kind of pointed out, like, look, like, yeah, the recent history with Brothers officiating Maverick games, including games 1 and 2, I think, of this series, is not great. But we used to say that about Crawford, wasn't it? We used to say that
Joey
about
Crawford.
Yeah, back in the day. And then eventually that did
I
turn
think
on
he had
its
a
head
problem
where
with
it stopped
cubes.
mattering.
Yeah, I think he just hated cubes.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, that's not super hard to do, but
Yeah,
it's really telling for what Dallas looks like now compared to then. If their role players can get shots, not hand grenades, get good looks.
Yeah, good looks. Yeah.
And knock them down with even reasonable efficiency, then I feel good. If someone in the chat, wow, I'm Tim, said 15 threes, turn the ball over less than 10 times, we win. I mean, honestly, that pretty much boils it down. Like at home, we've seen them hit 23s.
If only it feels that simple.
Yeah. Oh, I'm just saying, like, that's about as strong a recipe as you can get. And we talked about like the adjustments in this series and having that extra little punch. We said it earlier. Ntilikina hasn't had much burn in this series. And in 5.5 minutes in this past game when he was matched up, let me see this here. So when he was the primary defender of Booker, which is a total of 29 possessions in this series, Booker is just 1 of 6 from the floor. Now that's 5.5 minutes total game time, but still, that's pretty significant. And he had 4 steals in the first 13 minutes of his action in Game 6. So
that 7'1" wingspan, baby.
Yeah, and you know what? That was one of the huge underrated things we talked about with him. Not many guys Dallas has that can throw the length and all that at you. The wingspan, where suddenly Dallas is the one with the long athletic wings and everything that can disrupt passing lanes and just make life difficult. And there you go. You got someone for it. So I feel like my level of confidence here is a little up and down, but I do feel like it's house money, first of all, no matter what.
Yeah.
But I do have a cautious optimism.
Yes.
And it's, if nothing else, I take fair, confident comfort that Luka is going to be big game Luka. And I think they have enough guys and the coaching is competent enough, the entire staff, competent enough that they're going to give them chances. It's just going to be.
What's his name? Sean Sweeney, who was the defensive coordinator, essentially?
Yes. The defensive game planner, essentially.
Stud.
He's
been a stud this year.
Yeah, he's been great. He's actually getting people reaching out for head coaching interviews for him. So
Jesus.
Yeah, that's quick elevation. So all the more reason you got to go do something now. Tommy Beer on Twitter points out this is Devin Booker's shooting percentages when defended by specific Mavericks. Guarded by Dorian Finney-Smith, he's shooting 46% from the field for a total of 40 points. 35% when guarded by Bullock, 27 points. 72% when guarded by Luka, 30 points. 67% when guarded by Brunson, 19 points. 16% when guarded by Ntilikina, 6 points.
Wow. My man.
Over the first 6 games of the series versus the Suns, with Ntilikina on the court, Dallas is allowing 101.5 points per 100 possessions. With him on the bench, Dallas is allowing 116.5 points per 100 possessions.
That's Frank?
That's Frank. That is all Frank. So you want to talk about the X Factor? Frank is the X Factor here.
Go ahead and pat your back with that one.
Yeah, I don't want to sprain my arm, pat my back too hard. Let's get through this game and see him actually close it out for us. Yeah. If they go to the Western Conference Finals, then absolutely I will sprain my arm patting myself on the back.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's
by the way,
pretty incredible.
Are you a superstitious person?
Not terribly, but I also don't fuck around and find out.
Okay. We're just gonna stop, because I was gonna be like, well, I think the Mavericks do match up pretty well against the Golden State Warriors, but I was like, let's get past this game.
Well, yeah, get past Phoenix and then we'll worry about it, because you never know, man. I'm also reminded of the time when Dallas, as the 8 seed, took San Antonio to 7, and that was the same year Vince Carter hit in Game 3, the buzzer beater that put him up 2-1. That year, I felt really good about Dallas. I remember saying if they win in Game 6, I feel like they're closing them out in San Antonio. I had this feeling. I could not have been more wrong. That is a perfect example of what I talked about earlier. When you've already thrown the kitchen sink at them and you're like reaching behind you trying to find the next thing to throw, and then suddenly you're like, oh shit. And you just kind of like look back and they're like and like rearing back to just sock you in the face.
Okay, so with that in mind.
Dirk's only Game 7 loss of his career, by the way, and they got thrashed in that game in San Antonio.
So with that being said, what do you think? I know you're not an NBA coach, but is there another, I guess, spatula or tool in the Suns' kitchen sink that they could throw?
You know, I honestly, I'm not like, it's not like I'm the strategist mastermind of basketball.
Yeah.
So
I try to
I feel like they already kind of did that in Game 5 because they already showed, like, they already baited Luka into trying to do hero ball and everything. How he was dribbling the air out of the ball and throwing a lot of hand grenades. They got in his head where suddenly he was bothered and distracted by his frustration with Booker clowning him and all that. I don't know that you can do that again. It's almost like they're going to try and antagonize him. They're going to be physical. I expect Jay Crowder to take another swipe at Luka early in the game. He's been phenomenal this series, by the way. But he's a little banged up. Yes. But he's been a little banged up, too. If you remember, he actually picked Phoenix over Dallas before last year. Dallas offered him a contract and was determined to get him back. You know, obviously they drafted him for the fans who might not realize that in the chat. The Mavericks actually drafted Jay Crowder, and he was part of the Rondo trade, which he who shall not be spoken of. Jay Crowder's kind of creeping back into that territory now with some of this thuggish junk he's doing. But, you know, it's one of those guys where he'll give you a lot of games. Like he had a game earlier against the Pelicans where he went for like 24 minutes, 1-1-1-1. Like he'll give you that, but then he'll give you games where he's got like 21 and 11, and you're like, good God, man, 3-and-D mastermind. But yeah, I expect Jay Crowder to be very physical in this game. They're going to do everything to try and get in Luka's head. I expect Booker to be mouthing off. I expect Chris Paul to be chirping. I expect the Suns in general to be physical and try to throw Luka out of his game because that's probably the best thing they can try and do. Yes, angry Luka can be a wrecking machine and just wreck your shit, but you can also have Luka do that for 40 points, but the efficiency of the overall flow of the game plan for the Mavericks is not good, and then things self-destruct. So maybe that's Phoenix's ace up their sleeve, is just trusting they can get in his head in their territory.
We shall see.
Going to be interesting. Let me see. Do I have any other notes of note?
I had a note just come up that my McAfee trial is over.
I don't know if that's as useful to this Game 7. As a franchise, the Mavericks are 4-3 all-time in Game 7s, but just 1-3 in Game 7s on the road. That win was 2006 Game 7 in San Antonio.
One of the greatest basketball games ever played.
And it was in the freaking second round and not the Western Conference Finals because the NBA hadn't fixed its stupid system where because the Mavericks and Spurs were in the same division, the Spurs got higher precedent. It's not that the Spurs got the higher precedent over the Mavericks. They had the better record. But the Nuggets, I think it was, got the 3 seed instead of the Mavericks, even though the Mavericks had a way better record because the Nuggets won their division. So it was that. And so Dallas and San Antonio had to meet up in the second round instead. They changed it immediately.
On the 1-4 spot, right?
Yes. Where now the top 4 is just like, screw it, what's your record? Like they took away that basically tiebreaker to determine the seeding. But they changed it that next summer. But yeah, Mavericks go to OT in Game 7 against the Spurs, and Dirk he does it with an and one as time's expiring. Spurs up 3, and Mono for some reason tries to block and Dirk drive to the basket.
Ill-advised, my guy.
Yeah, Mono was great, but he would have some of those head scratchers. So would Jason Terry. But
I actually watched that
punching
game.
Michael Finley in the nuts that series. But yeah, that
he was suspended the game before, right?
Yeah, he missed Game 6 because of that.
Gotcha.
So the one time they won was Game 7, 2006 in San Antonio. Home teams have won 101 out of 134 Game 7s in NBA history. As a coach, Jason Kidd won Game 7 on the road in Toronto when he coached the Nets in 2014. The Mavs only... Yeah, I already said that one.
Who on the Suns? The Suns have never experienced, other than Chris Paul. The Suns have never experienced a Game 7. Is that correct? Do you know?
As
you
a
know
franchise, the Suns. What do you mean, like
or
ever?
the
Nash?
percentage? No. Who's on the team right now?
Okay, you're talking about the current Suns. I have no idea if they did at some point or not.
I mean, if I were to guess, I would probably say Paul and Crowder.
The last road team to win Game 7 was Portland in Denver in 2019, second round.
Nice.
But by the way, that's disregarding any bubble play because you didn't have real home fields.
I guess true.
From his talk here's the specific splits for Luka Doncic home versus away. At home, 4 games, 29.5 points, 43%, 23% from 3. Away, 5 games, 32.4%, 49% from the field, and 39% from 3. So he's been better on the road than he has at home. Granted, you go for a 46 or whatever it was in a loss earlier in Phoenix. That'll kind of do it. Devin Booker, meanwhile, at home is 27.4 points, 50% and 51% from 3. So that's huge. Away, he's only 21 points, 42% and 36% from 3. So they're both playing into their strength, but it's good in this case that Luka's strength happens to be on the road since that's where we are. But I don't know. In the chat, let us know. What's your gut feelings? Mavericks get this today? What do you think? Oh, this was funny. I saw on Twitter earlier today, Chuck Cooperstein said only one team in NBA history has won 64 games or more and failed to reach the conference finals, the 2007 Mavericks. And he says now the 22 Mavs get a chance to be on the right side of history in Phoenix. Game 7, blah, blah, blah. Is talk beat me to it. I saw that and I was about to message as well because that, sir, is not true. The Spurs went 67-15 in 2016 and lost to the 55-win OKC Thunder in the second round.
I was going to say, how many wins did the 2011 Spurs team have? 2011 Spurs team.
I don't know, but they got bounced in the first round by the Grizzlies. So he must have been splitting hairs where it was like 62 or 63 wins. But 2016, the Spurs won 67 games. Because I remember that's why they said if the Thunder won that year, it was going to be the single greatest champion ever because they would have beaten a 48 win team in the first round, a 67 win team in the second round, and then a 73 win team in the Western Finals, and then presumably I don't know how many wins the Cavs had that year, but it was like 57 or something. So
something like that.
In terms of winning percentage of their opponents, would have been the greatest run ever, and they had the 3-1 lead on the Warriors before Clay woke up, and then they imploded, Durant and Westbrook specifically. But yeah. Big Fat Winner says Phoenix wins. Get out of here. And of my chat right now. Put you in timeout. 123-107. Luka 38 points, but Phoenix shuts down the rest of the team is his prediction. Mavs
123-107. Yeah.
Mavs will do it, says Mav 522. I like it. And there's 2 people chiming in. I am not a man of prediction as of now because I might be superstitious. Little twist I put on it there.
I was going to say superstitious?
Well, my predictions are usually bad. And so I was just like, blend it with superstition. Yeah, I think it's going to be a hell of a game. I think this is going to be finally the game.
I don't even want to put any of my juju on this game.
I think this will finally be the game that goes into the clutch. Is that safe? We haven't had one yet. We have to have a game that comes down to the clutch. Not that I'm going to be not having a heart attack and heart palpitations and all that.
Yeah.
But I think
arrhythmias.
I feel like it's got to happen at some point. So Big Fat Winner says, I think Phoenix has something up their sleeves. They might have a knockout blow. And if that's the case, I put all the credit in the world with the coaching staff because I feel like the players, the only reason this is still here is their
Aaron Holiday.
Yeah.
Aaron Holiday is their knockout punch.
Be interesting. I feel like the reason this series has reached this point where now their season hinges very much in uncertainty is because their hubris early on caused them to not respond well and not really give their full effort and focus to Dallas. Game 3, Dallas kind of slipped by them. Game 4, Dallas punched them in the mouth. Phoenix came back and answered Game 5, and then they went right back to kind of kicking their heels up, even though they come back to Dallas wearing black like they're going to go to the Mavericks funeral. Dallas just kicked their teeth in, and they're just like, whatever, bro. We got Game 7 at home. At some point, I feel like that's got to catch up to them, where the Mavericks are just like, dude, you keep underestimating us, but we have you on the ropes, and we're one shot away from knocking you out.
And anything happened in Game 7, especially when you're the best player in the series. And I was going to say, so that podcast, Phoenix podcast I was talking about, that credentialed dude that's on their team was the dude who asked the question after Game 2 that gave us the viral clip
of the smirk.
Chris Paul, the smirk. So
you're saying he's the one that poked the bear for us.
Yeah.
So then we need to send him a thank you.
It's in my clip. If the Mavs win tonight, I'm gonna put the final touches. I'm gonna get on their podcast and see what they're gotta say for Game 7, if they even got one.
Yeah.
And then because I have them introducing the clip and their reaction to after the clip, which if it gets on Twitter, I'm sure Mavs fans would certainly enjoy it. But we have to get the win first because I'm not gonna.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm not one for bulletin material.
Yeah, I agree with Mav 522. Mavericks have the momentum. They've won 3 out of 4, and really, even in the loss, they really for like a quarter and a half were in control of that game. They started to slip. They blew an 8-point lead right before the half, where it got trimmed down all the way, basically. And then third quarter, for whatever reason, the Mavericks took their turn taking their foot off the gas, and Phoenix just kind of blew by them, and it was over.
They started playing.
I'll say this: you have to have the lead going into the fourth. Phoenix is like 53-0 this year when leading going into the fourth. I don't care if it's a point. You got to have the lead. Now, Phoenix is also dangerous. I think Dallas and Phoenix were the 2 best teams this year coming back from 10-point or more deficits. So you have to understand, even if you have a 10, 20-point lead, whatever, going into the fourth, you can't take your foot off the gas, man. You sprint through the tape, sprint through the ticker tape, and you go stake your claim in the Western Conference Finals for the first time in a decade, your 4th time in franchise history. That's what you got to do. So that's what's on the line. It'll be real interesting to see how this team responds. Maybe now we can actually be hopeful when the time comes to start talking free agency, because now you feel like you've got some pieces of intrigue and not even just a complete question mark of like, oh yeah, but what about KP's potential? But now it's like, all right, well, your GM is respected. Your coach is respected even coming in. And now the miracle act he's done on this team defensively. And now you actually have postseason success if you can get to a Western Finals. Whew, that suddenly looks intriguing.
Yeah, and you're not.
Of course, you have no cap money. One time you finally need.
Look, actually, no. On that, bro, cap money. That's a abstract concept.
No cap.
No
cap here.
Yeah, because tell the Miami Heat about their cap problems, and they were like, "What is cap? We just get players that we want."
Yeah.
So.
Well, we'll see what happens.
Hopefully, we get a guy that can.
For now,
but anyway,
we'll push that down the road a little bit and just focus on tonight. Let's see if they get through it. Either the season continues on and we keep celebrating, or it doesn't, and we throw a hell of a celebration all the same. Because this is no matter what, it's better than anything I thought this season was going to be. My highest goal and ambition for them coming into the year was win a playoff series and then get me to at least 6 games in the second round. And if you had told me then you were going to be going up against the number 1 seed in the second round, I would have been like, ooh, getting to game 6, that's going to be tough. But like, here they are. And you know what? I know this series has been
half a game behind the 3rd seed too.
Yep. And I know this series has been all kinds of screwy in terms of home versus away, but like you got 3 games against the team that was right on the cusp of a championship last year and who people penciled in basically all year as the Western Conference representative. At the least Western Conference Finals against the Warriors. So if you can upset the apple cart there, all the power to you. It's already exceeded expectations, but I like that the team doesn't seem like they're content with that. They seem very much like they're still focused and trying to. They're not going to say like, yeah, the season was a success. Good job, boys. Pack it in.
Yep.
They look like they want to make a little bit more noise.
Yep. All right, man. So to close it out, where are you watching the game?
Probably just gonna watch this one at home. Keep it on the low key. Keep it on the low key tonight, and enjoy a drink or two as I try to calm my nerves.
I was thinking about heading out to the AAC to watch. I think they're doing a
Nice.
watch party, but I was about I'm not. I get too crazy, and I don't want to be subdued. When I'm around people, I'm very subdued. I'm like, I'm not gonna be the dude that wants to run around and act belligerent or whatever.
Yeah, don't be belligerent, guys. Not fun.
But if I'm by myself, I can do that and at least not feel bad. So, so I'm thinking about just staying in my house and watching it. But
yeah,
I'm ready. Just thinking about tip off is already giving me palpitations. And
you got some time still. We still got like an hour.
I'm so nervous. Yeah, I'm always so nervous up until the game starts, and then like when the game starts, like something in my mind's like, all right, there's nothing I can do about it. Let's just sit and watch. And then the events of the game is what freaking pisses me off. So
yeah,
or makes me happy.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
anyway,
we will see how it goes. This is going to be. I think this is going to be an exciting game. I really do. I just have a feeling at the very least we're going to get a show, whether it's a sensational Luka game or the whole team is there, but we're going to have something to watch. So
yeah,
we'll see how it goes. We'll jump in and celebrate or commiserate one of those two things regardless. Thank you guys though for tuning in. We'll keep you posted on when we're going to run this back in the future. I'll be back as well next week with another show with James Wednesday. Usually record Wednesday, probably goes out Thursday. But yeah. Annie, do you want to plug? You said you're starting a channel as well?
I think because I have a lot more free time now, let me get some stuff together. I've been saying I'm going to get some started for like a year now, but I'm really like, I at least got to a point where I have a channel. I just haven't have anything public. I have a test video. I don't like how my microphone sounds. I feel like because I spend a lot of money on this microphone, and I want
the same one I got.
Yeah, I mean, boom, shakalaka.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I feel like I should sound clear, but you have the attachment thingamajig on the back.
Talking about the XLR.
Yeah. I ain't got that. I'm still.
Well, I mean, like it's plugged in. You can do USB or XLR mic. Not to get into the weeds on this.
I feel like the XLR sounds better.
It does, but you don't have to use that. My point is, I'm using the USB connection right now. You can adjust your levels just through the tool that comes with it, the Shure Plus motive, as we peel back the curtain and tell people our business. But
anyway,
you can figure it out.
Once I get that,
once
I get that going, then I'll start putting my stuff out there.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like the video, leave a comment below, subscribe to the Dallas Prospect, and when I know his channel's name, I'll tell you to subscribe to Annie's channel as well. Until next time, remember, every legend was once a prospect. Peace.
Peace, guys. Golly.